Draft number 107 streamed for me on the year. Today, it's another entry in Best Ball Mania 5, $1.5 million first place in this one. And today, we're going to talk about the fantasy football landmines in a draft. You can see Travis Kelce in the thumbnail. I think he's a landmine. We're going to talk about it here. Of course, I'm already in a draft room. It was basically a snap-fill draft, so we are starting hot and heavy, bright and early here. Landmines in the two-hole, really none of them that I'd be too concerned about. I guess CeeDee Lamb holding out. I don't know if you want to make that a landmine. Tyreek also theoretically holding out. We're going to go CeeDee Lamb for this start, though. If McCaffrey had fallen to me, would have been happy to take him as well. CeeDee Lamb at the 102, though, never feels like a bad thing. Maybe we are live to do some Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts stuff, maybe something else. Who knows? But we'll see what we do in the next few rounds. Of course, starting live here a little bit early. Appreciate you guys. And apparently, our guy Duke Dean here, who looks like a guy, I feel like Duke Dean looks like a guy I could enjoy an adult beverage with. But Duke Dean, even though you subscribed before the stream started, welcome to the family, Duke Dean. Welcome aboard. A great name, powerful name as well, Duke Dean. And you're the Duke of my heart with that subscription, hitting the join button down below for $4.99 a month. So, hey, welcome Duke Dean to the family. Now we're theoretically plugging, we're whoring, we're doing accents within the first minute of the video. How lucky you are on this Juneteenth. I'm working on Juneteenth, guys. Have no fear. But shout out, of course, like this stuff. I'm live Spags, of course, but really Juneteenth, an important day to reflect on. Also kind of a fucked up day to reflect on as well, because there are a lot of people who didn't find out that they were free until months later. But that's how that goes. But a beautiful day nonetheless. So shout out to everybody who is off. And of course, everybody who has meeting on this day. Jonathan Taylor in the 8-hole means that somebody's getting a little bit of a discount later on in a draft. So we'll see what happens there. Good mornings, GMs. Our guy Brian here. Let's go Squirters. Our guy Sammy. CeeDee Lamb. Mine? No, he's not a landmine at all. How dare you? Jonathan Taylor at pick 8 is a landmine. I think we're going to say that. Not normally a pick you're going to have. But I would say if you're going to reach for a guy, Jonathan Taylor to me going ahead of Bijan. Breece Hall at 5. Honestly, to me, it is a clear 1-2 at running back this year. It's McCaffrey, it's Bijan, and then it's Breece Hall at number 3. I think that's it. Anytime you upset that natural order of things, especially in June, I think you are making a mistake. If you want to do it later in July and August, especially in August, then you can do that to maybe clean your exposures up if you want to get shares of all those guys at RB. But going for Taylor at 8 when he sometimes goes in the 20s, if not even honestly, there's probably rooms out there where Taylor goes at the start of the 3rd round. I would say that Taylor at 8 is like an egregious landmine for this guy. The other landmines, you guys know, I actually think Sam Sherman, who I do tend to feel like disagree with a lot, at least did last year. But respectfully, I think Sam is very sharp. He's been talking about A.J. Brown and Garrett Wilson and basically saying that people are really putting the best case for Garrett Wilson as turning into A.J. Brown. Meanwhile, A.J. Brown is A.J. Brown with a better offensive coordinator this year, with theoretically a better offensive situation overall. Maybe he won't get fed at gunpoint quite as much as he did last year after bitching on the sidelines. But I think, to me, Garrett Wilson, if you take him over A.J. Brown, that's a landmine. I would say also, frankly, taking Garrett Wilson over Puka Nacua, a landmine. To me, Garrett Wilson is the landmine at wide receiver in the 1st round. Let's go Splashers. There we go. Great. Good googly using our different branding, our more colloquial branding that I appreciate. Splashers, Squirters is what it's turned into here. But it's all the splash emoji, all in good spirits as always. And I'm in good spirits today, too. Got a lot of productive work today done, even though the kid's off daycare. Thankfully, the wife is also off from work. So I just got to do my probably stuff early in the AM. Got to submit some new app screenshot things you put in on your app store thing. Just different promotional things we use. So I'm feeling productive, feeling feisty, feeling spry, feeling happy to be in a room where a guy takes Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley ahead of ADP. Feeling like this is the room for me, guys. See what we get on the way back. Wilson seems like the same situation as London. Yeah, London maybe in previous years. I don't know why Wilson would be the same situation as London. What do you expect this to be, a high-octane passing offense for the Jets when Aaron Rodgers has been one of the slowest paced guys in the league for a long time now? All right, so we have Devontae Smith here. Happy to take him. Not really a discount on Mike Evans. This guy could scoop Evans and Neighbors. I'm not getting enough Neighbors, and I'm willing to risk that this guy will take somebody else over Devontae. So I'm going to take Neighbors here. See what Gage Beckwith, which sounds like a wealthy white fictional character name. Gage Beckwith at the 1 hole. Let's see what he does. Got to think he's going to take Mike Evans with one of these. All right, Mike Evans is 1. Takes Devontae. That's the bummer. All right. Thought we could push Devontae back with the better thought of logic, but I'm happy to get a CeeDee Lamb neighbor start if nothing else. And really, it would have just tempted me more if I took Devontae first to reach for Jalen Hurts. I don't think that's the move right now either. Been trying to up my DK Metcalf exposure. I'm happy to keep doing that. I do have Diggs ranked a little more highly. Always do enjoy shares of Houston, but we're not getting Tank Dell back. I'm going to keep upping my Metcalf exposure for now. Got him yesterday in a draft, put together some Chicago-Seattle stuff. Here we will get DK Metcalf with CeeDee Lamb, with Malik Neighbors. Honestly, different kinds of receivers, I would say, for these guys. Maybe some similarities with Neighbors and Lamb. Metcalf, though, pure downfield guy, pure boundary receiver. I think he's the kind of guy that I like in the portfolio as a wide receiver 3. And again, my big belief in Seattle this year is that Metcalf, that this offense with Ryan Grubb takes a leap. If you want to say that there's a landmine potential to Seattle, I could go with it. The landmine potential is really Geno Smith not being able to be a guy who can be this vessel for, what Michael Penix did last year, leading college football, or I think it was at least top 2 in college football in air yards. Geno Smith has not been a willing downfield thrower. How much of that is him? How much of that is Pete Carroll and that Shane Waldron offense last year? We're going to find out. But I would say if you want to make any critique of Seattle being a landmine, I think it's a fair one to make because of the fact you have to really be making a buy-in, much like in Atlanta, much like a Houston to some extent. You have to be making a buy-in on these offenses going forward and going upward in a meaningful way. And I think a bet on Seattle is one where, you're expecting those guys to go upward. And I don't know if I want to make that bet. Geno Smith is the fulcrum point of it. Lurking the same as I got to catch him. Poor Tyler's just working every day. I feel like a wife at home wondering where my man is, and Tyler's too busy working. But that's going to happen. Sorry to hear you're not off today, but that's how it goes, unfortunately, sometimes. How do you not think the Jets would rather ride Breece if they can, especially potentially a better O-line? I mean, it's not even riding Breece. I think they're going to ride different guys in that running back room. I don't think it's going to be just Breece. But I think Breece is certainly a big part that takes away the upside of a guy like Garrett Wilson in the red zone in particular. Touchdown equity is going to go a little bit more to running backs. I think also, frankly, Tyler Conklin, not the most exciting player in the world, but Conklin / Jeremy Ruckert, who's come on decently at camp. Those guys could end up getting some Rodgers touches too as well, especially touchdowns, because of the fact that Rodgers loves his tight end. So to me, Garrett Wilson, I think people just want to keep forcing the Devontae Adams thing. But in reality, this offense has better weapons at other spots. And also, like Rodgers himself, last time he played football, he made for a good year for Christian Watson. That was basically it. And, and Watson too, I'm sure people out there would love to critique his first year as well. And Allen, Jalen Hurts start at the turn is not the way to spend draft capital. If you use RotoViz's roster construction explorer for previous best ball lineups and how they perform, 2 elite QBs bad, 2 elite QBs, especially in this kind of spot, not great. I still will take 2 elite QBs sometimes, but it's got to be like Allen and a falling Stroud, Stroud and AR where one of them falls. Like that's going to look a little bit better. I think that Allen and Hurts is just a mistake, but maybe he'll stick his landing later on. Who knows? All right, back to the chats here. So, guys, accidentally got in your Spags. Good luck in my draft. Thank you, Colin, for saying accidentally. Whenever people are like, I'm in your room, and then I'm going to chat the entire time about a room, that's when I don't reward it quite as much. But it's all good. It's going to happen sometimes. Again, prefer to have rooms where we're not always filled with regulars. I know some streamers out there love that, and some viewers out there like that as well. But I've heard enough from viewers that don't enjoy it. And also, I think it's just minus EV for me, minus EV for all of you guys as well. We're always in the same room. Sometimes that's fine. It's going to happen. But in general, you kind of want to be in rooms like this one where people are doing weird shit, like taking Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, and Kyron. And then also T. Higgins, your wide receiver 1, one of the guys I like the least at his ADP. I think that these are the rooms I want to get more of because I want to be in pods with these people. I want to be connected to these people for 14 weeks, as sharp as you guys are out there, especially if you're watching streams like this, streams like Pete Overzet, streams like the Spike Week guys, Legendary Upside using that sidekick tool. I don't want you guys in my fucking rooms. I want the idiots. I want the people who are going to draft Travis Kelce and go, he's a lock. He's a lock for another. He's going to get 2,000 yards this year. That's the people I want in my rooms. All right. We got Trey McBride here. Terry McLaurin. Always do like Terry McLaurin. I get tempted to take Keenan Allen every time when I do have the Trey McBride start, or the DK Metcalf start. Trey McBride, always a favorite of mine too. Top of mind. We're going to go Terry McLaurin, though. Might be a day for some Jaden Daniels bullshit. Some more flowery quotes from Dan Quinn. Did an interview. I forget who it was. It was one of the national hosts. but talking about how Jaden Daniels, the swagger of a vet, but the ability to learn, the desire to learn of a rookie. It's what we want to hear about Jaden at this time. So I am still above 40% on Jaden, so I've been trying to dial it back. Still, I think, around 40% on Terry. So I got to be mindful of it. But in this room, I'm in a 0 RB mood, and Terry McLaurin looks pretty good at pick 47. Nobody, I'm not going to pull up your chat because we're done with the bit. I hope he goes away, and that's all I'm going to say about it. He needs to honestly get help for himself, really. Is what I both looking at his red face and in general, but that's the end of the thing. The season finale was last Thursday. It's not happening again. 4 receivers here to start. Old wealthy man of the one-hole Gage Beckwith taking his time. All right, so we got Keenan Allen back anyway. I feel like Keenan Allen, a nice wide receiver 5 for the team if we are doing some 0 RB bullshit. Of course, do love Joe Mixon. James Cook, also happy with him and his ADP. Stroud and AR, happy with them as well. But no, I guess the only correlation we would have would be neighbors there. AR is fun, but I want to get more AR with Pittman, so I want to be mindful of my AR exposure. And obviously, if I do take AR, we'd be boxed out on Jaden Daniels later on. So both guys having week 14 buys. So we are going to go Keenan Allen here. So the team so far, a literal 0 RB start. So we're going no RBs through the first 5 rounds. Ideally, first 6 would be the technical term for a real 0 RB build. We're going CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, and Keenan Allen is the team. I am happy with the team. We don't have our usual crush of the same bye week, so that's a positive. And we'll have to just get some other positions later on. But no better time right now in a draft, I feel like, to hit RB after a good 5 receivers through 6 rounds, 5 receivers through 7 rounds kind of start. And honestly, we're live to an extreme 0 RB one where I take 1 more receiver here, and then we just call it quits at receiver. So we'll see what we do. There's other things that can fire me up. It's not happening again. I genuinely just don't like him, and I think he's got real mental illness issues, and I just don't want it in my life anymore. That's really how it is. Brett Coleman talked for an hour on the Commanders on Bootleg. It said 0 words about Jahan Dotson. I'm terrified. I mean, Jahan Dotson wasn't great last year. I think Brett Coleman does a great job of this stuff. I also don't know that he knows everything in the world. Not that I do either. But I'd say Jahan Dotson, there's a lot of change in how he's going to be playing this year. He's not going to be operating on the slot. That's Luke McCaffrey's job. So Dotson moving out wide is going to be a big improvement for him, at least in theory, especially knowing how Jaden Daniels played at LSU. So Bennett really benefited downfield targets, out wide targets. Both Neighbors, Neighbors was in the slot sometimes, out wide a good amount of the time as well. Brian Thomas primarily out wide. Both guys had elite years. So obviously college to the NFL, not 1-to-1, but with how we saw Jaden Daniels play last year, my expectation is whoever's running out there, much like Houston last year, whoever's running out there with Daniels is going to do well. That's my primary bet. If you feel differently, then you should be fading Washington. But to me, as long as they don't trade for a Brandon Ayuk somehow, I think this wide receiver depth chart to me is just good enough to look like world beaters at ADP with them competing against each other for Jaden Daniels getting on the ball. That's how I would view it. Obviously, other people are out there who may be sharp as well view it differently. Saw some interesting stats about how AR targeted his players versus Minshew. AR loves his tight ends. Yeah, he had a 30% target share going to tight ends, which is not really not the best for a tight end room that has 5 guys in it competing for time. People, I think, read that tweet as a pro Jelani Woods tweet, when in reality, it's he was throwing the ball to Ogletree last year. He was throwing the ball to Will Mallory when he was out there. Obviously, Mo Alley Cox, if he's still on the team, he's going to get some targets. It's really a little bit too crowded there, unless there's camp cuts, unless they really recenter around Jelani. And I would say the positive for Jelani Woods with that target share being so high for tight ends, he did move up the depth chart throughout the course of minicamp, where he started with, I think, might have been the 3rd team. That was with the 2nd team, then got up to the 1st team. So he's at least doing that part of things of moving up the depth chart. But for Jelani, man, I think people treat him like he's the tight end, and he's one of a series of tight ends that'll probably be targeted. Okay. Yeah, Granson is there too. Granson was the one who was mostly the starter, so that's how that goes. My higher on Dotson, would you rather take Luke McCaffrey? McCaffrey, as I've mentioned a few times with McCaffrey, he just wasn't a killer at Rice, and I do want guys who play at lesser colleges to be killers. Dotson, at least we know, has big upside. Obviously, relative to price, McCaffrey is free in drafts, so I might end up with more McCaffrey. But to me, I've been very mindful about forcing my way to Dotson. And exposure-wise right now, actually, let me see where I'm at. Yeah, I'm at 18% Dotson. So I am still making a heavy Dotson bet. My McCaffrey bet right now is 26%, but again, he's much cheaper. I take him sometimes even without having Jaden. So Prefer Dotson, McLaurin the most, though. This is the first time Terry's having a good QB in his career. And I think Terry's even said, Terry, we're best pals. Terry said that to the effect as well in the recent press conference that led to the Athletic article that was written about him, where it's just he is a guy that has never had a good QB and never had a QB that apparently even wanted to throw with him after practice. James Cook, I need a running back, and I'm getting James Cook at 71. So great. Great. Okay. End the zero RB run here with James Cook at 13 picks after. Did James Cook die? Did I miss a headline about James Cook coming down with a serious disease? I don't know, but James Cook, 13 picks late. Chef's kiss on that. We'll make one more pick here, and then we'll give the team a read. Really do like these 5 wide receiver starts, though. Like, getting a little too same in these last 2 drafts I've done on stream, but I really think that allows you some flexibility. All right, so Ingram would be an okay pick. Let's sort by ADP here. Kamara, I do have ranked a little bit lower. Montgomery, I have ranked in the 70s. So I'm actually going to go, or, top 70. I'm going to go David Montgomery here. He's usually the guy I like to start my zero RB runs with. I'm getting him as RB2 here. I think it's a big win. So the team so far, James Cook, huge discount on James Cook, David Montgomery, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, and Keenan Allen. I like this team because I think Lamb and Keenan Allen are going to give me my 10 to 20 points most weeks. Obviously, Lamb can put up a lot more, and Allen can too. But then you have Neighbors, Metcalf, McLaurin, who I think maybe trade some spikes. The hope is that all these guys are going to be good game to game and have more of a floor than you might envision. But I think at least one of these guys can spike week to week. And if not, they're probably still giving me, 5 to 10, I guess, if it's not great. So at least they're not giving me zeros, I would say, is the other part of it. But I like that kind of build. Really do think if you hit receiver hard and heavy and you just hit RB for a few rounds after that, or, at least before, pick 100, I think your team looks pretty good. So I'm happy with the start. I see the Timberlake mugshot I did with the little teary eyes. Slash maybe a little high eyes, but I think he was crying. It makes me sad. I was actually saying to my wife that, I feel like Justin Timberlake getting arrested, whatever. I thought he was a bigger star than he is. I didn't realize he's put out an album this year. I've heard nobody saying, oh, Justin Timberlake, new album. I really thought he had enough of a longitudinal career that people would be like, whoa, this is a big deal. And people, hate him now. Their women don't like him because they think he's abusive. I know Britney Spears' book accused him of demanding an abortion. That's part of why my wife doesn't like him anymore. It makes me sad because I grew up loving Justified JT, a little too Michael Jackson-y for my taste, but him and the Neptunes, him and Pharrell were putting out some bangers. I don't know. Makes me sad. Yeah, police officer didn't even know who he was. We were old. He also is pretty gaunt right now. I could see not recognizing Justin Timberlake when he's not looking glamorous, but it is a tough scene. He's definitely not relevant to the use. This is not a fun Spags draft. Zero tilt halfway through. See, again, guys, I don't want to be the clown in the in the dunk tank. I'm trying to build good teams. I do a little bit of everything here. I'm going to react organically. I'm not going to force myself to be mad at stuff. Come on, guys. We want my blood pressure to be healthy. Me to have again, but that was one of the things I hated the most about Barstool. So don't take me back there. But the zoo animal thing, the performative stuff, I'll ham it up here, which it's still content. But I certainly don't want my angst on stream to be the thing. I want to draft a great portfolio. That's why I want less weirdos who do the same thing in every draft to be in every draft. That's how we feel about that. Jaden goes 88, which fucks up my theoretical plans for the Commanders, but sure. This guy took Lamar. This is a stupid draft pick for this guy. This guy has Lamar. So number one, look, I think Lamar teams are fun in general. Lamar, though, you're taking that high of a draft capital. You're then reaching for Jaden. And I'll take Jaden at 88 if it aligns with my team. But he now has 2 week 14 buys, one of which he reached for pretty aggressively. The other of which he can get for cheaper. I've gotten Lamar at the 50 spot before. That said, it's just not a great move. Again, it's also one of those ones that effectively hurts me. But also, it's a stupid move, too. So that's the double whammy. When it's a stupid move and it hurts me, that's what we like the least. Shocker, though, it's not the guy who started with the RBs. It is just this guy doing that. Oh, yeah, there you go. Son of Kong, I suck. All right, Vinny. Honestly, you handled that with class. So, Vinny, not the move, man. 2 week 14 buys, reaching for Jaden a lot. I believe in both guys, but I don't think that was the correct move. Your team is fine beside that, I suppose. Get more receivers, man. You have 2 receivers through fucking 8 rounds. But that, honestly, if you ever are going to make me hate you less, Vinny, that was the way to do that. Vinny, welcome to the family. Vinny, you get fucking hit the join button, Vinny. Let's make you better at this. 0250 here. Dak comes back to me. Obviously, I think he's got to be one of the picks for this. Do I want to tempt it with this guy who I feel like could take an unstacked Dak? I think we will. I'm going to get Tyler Lockett here. A little bit ahead of ADP for Lockett, but I can get the Seattle double. Hopefully box some people out of coming my way for Geno Smith later. So let's do that. No conflicting buys with that, right? All right. If this guy takes unstacked Dak, I'm just going to fucking throw myself off the bridge for all you guys. All right, here we go. We got Dak Prescott here. So we got Dak with CeeDee Lamb, a little bit of a discount on Dak. We got James Cook, David Montgomery, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen, and Tyler Lockett. We don't have the elite-ish tight end or, top 100 tight end. It's the one that you could say is weak. But we are live for later tight ends, live for later QBs. So that's the part that I think is good. Having Jaden, I think, would make the team good, but honestly, I do need less Jaden. So Vinny, for his flaws, I think helped me out here. So take that. Bad draft for me all week 17 correlation, though. Yes, still wouldn't say 2 receivers through 8 rounds is going to be the move, but good luck to you, Vinny. Good luck sticking the landing. Just load up on wide receiver late is what you got to do at this point. And a third QB as well, perhaps. No, it's tight end next round who correlates. Oh, I don't even know who you're thinking of right now. Oh, are we thinking of a Philadelphia tight end? I'm actually not sure who you're thinking of. I would like to get more Jake Ferguson exposure too in these kind of builds. Do you think Ferguson, if you are taking Dak, taking CeeDee Lamb, I think going with Ferguson as your kind of, I don't know, the second receiver there would be a valid move. As I talked about here, I do think Brandon Cooks is a solid play. I don't know if I'm buying in on John Machota, the beat writer's report that he believes Brandon Cooks get 10 touchdowns this year. But I do think Cooks is a wide receiver 2 undervalued just from the fact that his competition is legit, like Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin, Ryan Flournoy, who's not a person really. There's no competition there. So I think to me, getting Ferguson, getting Cooks, both equally valid. Ferguson, I think the steam's just a little bit too much. There are people who take Ferguson in the 70s. I don't agree with that price point. But here, I think if he had come to me at 95, I probably would have taken him with Dak. He had a 3 touchdown game in the playoffs. He was getting red zone targets all year. The issue really, the trickle-down effect of that is that Ferguson was getting those targets because Tony Pollard was bad in the red zone. That was a big part of it. So if Zeke / Rico Dowdle / even Royce Freeman are good in the red zone, you probably see less touchdown upside going Ferguson's way. It also was a game too where they were getting their ass kicked. It was a pass game script. I think people are holding that game in a little too much esteem. Obviously, that was the run good of Ferguson, getting all those red zone targets all year. But I think a lot of the red zone targets, the crush of red zone targets he got all year, wasn't his own talent. It wasn't that he's so great. It's just because of the fact that he really there's nobody else to go to who was like a red zone threat besides CeeDee Lamb. And even CeeDee Lamb is not the greatest one in the world. Eagles 18 did draft. So you were thinking Dallas Goedert. Yeah, Goddard, if he came back to me, I think would have been an option. But it's okay. The downside with Philly is now there's really no options to do for a bring back for them in week 17. We're talking the late Aeneas Smith, the late Johnny Wilson, the late Paris Campbell. None of those are the most fun. Caleb Williams goes to the drafter with DJ Moore, so that's going to happen as well. Don't think I was going to take Caleb, but would have been nice to have the optionality. But Caleb at 114, hard to argue with that. Would you have grabbed Brock if he was there instead of Lockett? I like Brock. I'm still double the field on Brock, though mostly cheaper Brock. He's coming up to the 90s enough now in rooms, even if he's not in ADP yet. I'm still think I want to get more Lockett. I want to get more Seattle, double stacks, triple stacks. I have a hard time getting them because of where the ADPs are. And I do want to make some bets on Seattle. So I think I still might have favored Lockett, but Bowers would have made it tougher, I think, for sure. Tough call because Bowers to me is one of those guys that has the proxy kind of elite tight end upside. Okay, so we're on the clock here. We got 6 receivers. I think we have a chance to make this RB room better. Big discount on Brian Robinson. There should never be a discount on Brian Robinson. He's greatly undervalued, and the offense is probably going to put the most plays in the NFL. You're live for potentially 70 plays a game for the Commanders this year with them playing more no huddle. Cliff Kingsbury, top 5 pace guy when he last coached in the NFL. So to me, Brian Robinson undervalued in a variety of ways, especially given the fact that Robinson's been involved in the pass game a good amount in camp. And I think for Brian Robinson, that's a huge part of things as well. Shipley's not anything, man. Gainwell's still ahead of him in minicamp. Shipley is like the most wish-casted pick, I feel like, in the world. And I know people are down on Gainwell. If you're going to take a running back late for Philly, it should be Gainwell. Like, Gainwell's the one who actually was getting some first-team pass game work. Maybe Shipley can win the role over time, but he really wasn't that good at Clemson either. He's white and he looks like Christian McCaffrey. So people, I think, conflated that. And he got volume and he got like good goal line work at Clemson. But like talent-wise, Shipley is like nothing. I believe. People may feel differently, but people are wrong if they do feel differently. Chase Brown here, fine pick. Zeke would be a correlated pick, though maybe a shot that Rico Dowdle comes back. I will keep building the RB room here. A little discount on Brock Purdy is nice for somebody out there, but makes no sense for me. I'm going to go Chase Brown here. Obviously, Dalton Schultz, a player I'm happy with, but if I get Chase Brown at any sort of discount, I'm happy to do it. And I think a fourth RB makes sense for us here. So we have a 1-4-6-0 build. We have Dak Prescott, James Cook. Again, really shocked to see James Cook at 70. If that happens with any frequency, I would scoop him up every time. David Montgomery, Brian Robinson Jr., Chase Brown are your RBs. Wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen, and Tyler Lockett. Happy with the team so far. I think, tight end is definitely one where it's the one flaw in the team, but obviously I still believe you could stick tight end late. I just have to make sure to not get scooped on a few guys. It's going to be the important part. Team is sick. Thank you. This is my opinion. If your opinion is different, it's wrong. I mean, look, you come in with the best possible opinions. I'm always going to believe in my opinions over everybody else's, but people can make compelling cases. And ultimately, as we always say here, everybody's equally as right in June, in July, and August. It all comes down to what happens in the season. But ultimately, approaching it the right way is the biggest part we can ever ask for. You're a stop at 6 wide receivers here. I wouldn't stop at 6 unless the 6 were in the first 8 rounds. We're close to that. So maybe, I guess, we did hit it 6 and 8, though. I don't view Lockett to me as like a top 8 round pick, really. I just kind of, I guess it's where his ADP is. But it should be like 6 and 7, 6 and 8, really. I still would probably want to take a 7th. But I do have the optionality. Like, I feel like this room could stand on its own at receiver. Just maybe would like to add a little more to a stack. But we'll see. And also, if I get sniped on Geno, then that's going to change the equation because I'll have to then cobble together a stack. Biff Tannen takes Marshawn Lloyd at 126. Gentlemanly ADP for Marshawn Lloyd, a guy who is greatly undervalued right now. Somebody's going to get a huge dip in Brock Purdy. This room has been odd, man. You got our guy Vinny in the chat doing some stuff I would not necessarily advocate for, but a great guy, it seems like, for Vinny. So kudos to him. It's hard for me to say that when you make bad picks, but Vinny is a good guy, it seems like. Besides that, really, I don't know what's leading to this room being so odd. Like Brock Purdy going at 130, I don't think I've seen ever. This guy here takes him. What does he have? So this guy takes the Brock Purdy faller with no Niners stuff, but he does have Jameson Williams. I get Brock Purdy has to go at some point. I don't know what a naked Brock Purdy does for you, even at the big ADP discount. That's a tough spot to be in. As somebody who had Ayuk, somebody who had Debo, should have gotten a very cheap Purdy around this way. That's how I'd feel about that. Yeah, it's not the biggest value play. I get wanting to scoop him up, but he's just not doing enough for you without his receivers. Yeah. Tough scene. Good discount. Tough scene. Yeah, I guess that's it. Take Pearsall. Pray there's a trade. Take Juwan Jennings and Pearsall. Hope one of them gets, one of Debo or Ayuk gets shipped out. It's a thin outcome, but it's an outcome. All right, a couple of picks coming up here. We'll see what we get. Thank you, Big Sonny. I agree. More fun watching your drafts than being in them. That's the review I want. If I could pin it on the wall like the Notre Dame sign, I could touch it coming in. I would I would do that. But I'm glad to hear it and I appreciate it. And yes, and I appreciate this as well from Matthew. Please subscribe down below with the like button. We got a couple picks coming up here, but new drafts every Monday to Saturday at 11 a.m. We are doing that here on stream. So hit the like button and subscribe. It all helps me out a bunch. And we willed Rico Dowdle back. I didn't even want to walk it down. I pulled my rankings off the screen because I didn't want somebody to steal him. Rico is RB5 in a Dallas build. Makes me very happy. I think this team makes a lot of sense. The RB room, we could be done at RB. So we could technically be done at RB and at receiver right now, which is a nice feeling to have through 12 rounds. Obviously, we're not done. We're going to take more guys, but we could be done. Honestly, the kind of build where you could take maybe some luxury picks, perhaps. But I don't know that I want to kill a really good team. I feel like I want to just keep soaking up a little bit more value. Jared Goff, a big follower in this room as well. Let's take an unstacked Jared Goff just for the lulls. What is old Gabe Beckwith going to do? Gabriel, make your pick. Honey, your porridge is getting cold, Gabe Beckwith. Fucking Mr. Darcy-ass name. Okay. He goes Nick Chubb. So I was like, this is the kind of team that could theoretically withstand a Hawkinson. Receiver, I don't think does much for me here. These guys up top. I would like to get more Musgrave, and I do think Musgrave is kind of a nice pick here. I'm going to get Musgrave. I'm going to go Musgrave. Think he's got big upside. Really thought that the way he returned from that lacerated kidney, caught the big touchdown versus Dallas is one where I really felt like that's what I wanted to see out of Musgrave all year. He suffered a lot because Jordan Love couldn't handle pressure. Musgrave is like a real downfield weapon, but he couldn't get downfield because Jordan Love kept getting pressured and then couldn't handle it well. So I think this is a year where Musgrave benefits a lot from, people really focus on this wide receiver core, and it's a crowded room when you have 5 guys that people have their own individual merits for. But I think Musgrave, to me, like, is a guy I want more exposure to. He was one of my favorite rookies last year relative to cost and didn't pay that off enough, even though he was useful enough compared to the dog shit tight ends who were drafting him around. But I want to make a bet on Musgrave this year in year 2. Just got to hope he's healthy. He got hurt at Oregon State his senior year, got hurt last year. 2 separate injuries and a lacerated kidney. I don't know how you protect from that. But if you want to say there's some risk, it's just the injuries. Wasn't Rico bad last year? He was the exact same player as Zeke in the advanced analytics and EPA metrics. So not a bad player, no. What was his avoided tackle rate? See, Rico, I got only wide receivers showing on my data screen right now. Okay, Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle, negative 0.06 EPA per rush, positive EPA per pass, 0.17 EPA per pass. Only a 14% avoided tackle rate, so he's better than the Mixon, Kamara kind of tier, the Rashad White tier of running backs in terms of avoiding tackles, but not where we want to see, where, guys like Jalen Warren is around, I believe, 33%. Jalen Warren, 30% avoided tackle rate. If he had that going for him, I would be caping for Rico Dowdle a lot more. As it is right now, I think he's functionally a younger, less good version of Zeke, or less good as Zeke once was version of him. But both guys can win the role. It's an ambiguous backfield. So when I don't get Zeke, I'll take Rico. I think you could make the case, and it's a little bit thorny because of Dallas's backfield. Maybe some camp cut really speaks to them, and they do sign the Khalil Herbert or somebody who's rumored to get cut perhaps during the next wave of things. Maybe they sign one of those guys, but if they don't, like, this is kind of a Miami situation last year where I feel like you should be getting a Dallas back more often than not in drafts. But if it changes, obviously, then that's going to fuck that up. But for right now, with how it is, I think taking Rico, taking Zeke, a good amount is what I would like to do. And I have been doing it. A good amount. Kraft is hurt right now, so Musgrave could still rise. Yeah, I know the Kraft injury shouldn't matter that much, I don't think. I mean, frankly, Kraft playing at all shouldn't matter that much. If people think he was a starter last year just because he held on to the role when Musgrave had, again, a lacerated kidney and it still played a few reps in that game when Musgrave came back from the lacerated kidney. But that's really all Kraft is. Kraft has some talent. I don't think he's bad, but he's blocked by Musgrave, who's like a much more compelling weapon, I think, with everything he is. All right, so we have a 1-5-6-1 here. I think with how these rooms get, it's time to just take our QB. I'm going to take Geno Smith. A little bit early here, but again, there's nothing I feel like I have to have. Like Mims, I don't mind. Obviously, I take Mims a good amount. Belief in Bo Nix is definitely there for me. I like Michael Wilson, okay. I like McCaffrey, obviously. We could make another Washington bet, but we don't have the QB for Washington. That's how I feel about that. And Geno matters to this team in a couple different ways that we'll see in a moment. All right, Michael Wilson goes. We're going to go and get Noah Fant here because we have seen Noah Fant get steamed up in rooms. Sometimes illogically, we need that second tight end, want the double stack with Geno or the triple stack with Geno. We get that. So bad news is 2 week 10 buys. Good news is we could tack on one more tight end late. Team so far is a 2-5-6-2. We have Dak Prescott, Geno Smith at QB. So no conflicting buys there. 2 QBs, reasonable ADPs, a little bit of a discount for Dak. James Cook, still my favorite part of the team. David Montgomery, Brian Robinson Jr., Chase Brown, and Rico Dowdle. Could add a sixth RB. Don't really need to, but we could. CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen, and Tyler Lockett. And at a tight end, we have Luke Musgrave and Noah Fant. So right now, as I'm envisioning it, one more receiver, one more RB, one more tight end, but we have flexibility to do more than that if we want. And I think definitely one receiver I have in mind. Seam Fucks, thank you for that. I believe in Bo Nix, question mark. I believe in Bo Nix. I have questions. I want to see more from Denver. Felt like the Denver beat guys were kind of all over the place and didn't really give me a read on how the team looked. And that could sometimes mean the team was not playing that well. But it was just a lot of stuff like, oh, Jaleel McLaughlin sure comes in early. And I'm like, oh, here's this one deep ball from Nix to this guy. Here's one deep ball from Nix to Troy Franklin. But it wasn't anything like, oh, Tim Patrick's getting all the first team work and Troy Franklin's playing second team. Like, felt like we didn't get that level of detail from Denver as we do with some other teams out there, which is odd because I feel like Denver's got good beat reporters, but maybe you're not the most fantasy friendly ones in the world. It feels like, I don't think anything ever feels like a Darnell Washington team at this point. Though I guess if you are going to make a bet on somebody you're not that into, Arthur Smith's tight end too. It's never going to be a bad one. Does Rolick, I believe in Joe Hendry. Poor Joe Hendry got his fucking ass kicked in the NXT Battle Royal yesterday. The whole crowd excited. And this is real. This is deep cut wrestling stuff if you are just a mainstream wrestling fan who sometimes watches Splash Play. But a guy who's like gone viral a lot, Joe Hendry, for his really amazing theme song. Like one of the best songs of 2020, I guess whatever it came out, is Joe Hendry's theme song. But he debuts for NXT as part of their talent exchange with TNA. And then this is real deep cut. And I apologize. But then just gets thrown out immediately. It was bad booking by NXT yesterday. And that appeases probably just Benny and nobody else in the chat. They're now having bad camp per beats. Yeah, I heard that he basically isn't even, as bad in the spring as he was last year. It sucks for Darnell. I think there's a world where he could have been a better player if he really had the team that coached him up and used him like an Antonio Gates style kind of guy almost, where it's like you give him some chance to get better and to learn the position. And the way that it worked out, obviously, has not been quite that way. He's number one on the UK charts, not that deep. Well, I don't know how many UK people we have watching specifically. But, it's one of those things where I'm aware when I'm talking about things that appeal only to me when we're on a fantasy football show. But I get it. All right, 2562 here. I think at this point, Jalen Tolbert increased the bet here. More correlation. I'm happy to do that. Jalen Tolbert, come on down. And I think that makes us done at receiver. All right, so Juwan Johnson's ADP continues to fall. He's still likely going by week 1, so I don't know that that's the wisest. I kind of want to scoop him here. We just need Juwan Johnson back by week 10. Yeah, I think that's it for this team. Juwan Johnson, tight end 3. Because, we need a third tight end more than we need another RB. I was thinking maybe Tank Bigsby there, but that's how we're going to go with it. Team so far, it's a 2-5-7-3. So we have Dallas here, Dak Prescott, Geno Smith. We have both our QBs game stacked, generally. I guess not game stacked, but stacked up pretty well. James Cook, David Montgomery, Brian Robinson Jr., Chase Brown, and Rico Dowdle are my RBs. So I'm happy with this group. Could add a 6th, that not a pressure point necessarily. We have CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen, Tyler Lockett, and Jalen Tolbert. So we have the Dallas double with CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Tolbert, and also the RB Rico Dowdle tacked on. We've got the Seattle double here with Metcalf and Lockett, also Noah Fant. And then we have Luke Musgrave and Juwan Johnson. So happy with this team. Think the bet makes sense. Still think Juwan Johnson shouldn't be 30 picks cheaper than he was at various points. Yeah, he's hurt, but everything they're saying he's going to be ready week 1. So especially for a team like this, it doesn't really need him until week 10. He's a pick to take in round 17 easily. Are they going to limit Darnell to 100 targets because of his bad camp? Yeah. It's not, the thing is, it wouldn't even be 100 targets. It would just be 2 targets a game that would matter a lot to make Pat Freiermuth's days look better. It's generally how Arthur Smith runs things at tight end. Just move him to tackle. He's too lean to be tackle. He's really one of those guys that's no man's land, which was my concern, is he's too big to be a tight end, really. I think there's a world where you could use him and play him half the amount of routes if you really coached him up and really trained him to be a pass catcher. But clearly, that's not how they're doing it. And I I don't trust Pittsburgh to develop anybody, honestly. Like, I think, as I've talked about with George Pickens, I think they've stifled his development in a lot of ways, even though people point to the games last year when there was nobody left and it was Mason Rudolph just force-feeding him targets. But I think for them, I hate Pittsburgh's development of players, honestly. I think they luck box anybody they do develop on offense. Let's see. Cowboys route is technically a game stack. It's true. The Cowboys are going to light up Philadelphia in week 17. That's the script that we're playing here. Don't think Bears have demonstrated a desire to ever truly part with RB depth in this regime. That's how I feel about it mostly. That said, a beat reporter saying Herbert might get cut, I thought was noteworthy. But I don't get it. Like, if you're working Herbert with the first team on pass downs in camp, I don't get why he would be the one who gets cut. But they're not going to cut Roschon, so I guess that would be the big part of why. Because current regime picked Roschon, and if anything, Herbert is absolutely blocking Roschon's path to any usefulness. But depth is important if you are a playoff team, and Chicago should be in the hunt to be a playoff team, if not, actually one. Roschon at 213 would not be a bad pick. All right, the 2573 here. I could take a little Washington correlation. Is there anybody from Philadelphia at all? Yeah, Shipley and Nia Smith. Honestly, Paris Campbell is kind of unique, and he's getting all the work. Did Campbell get drafted? No, it's 2 R's. Okay, that's why. You might disagree with this one. I'm going to take a share of Paris Campbell here. So the most unique Dallas bring back for week 17 we could think of has been getting all the slot snaps for Philadelphia to start. Would expect him to lose that role at some point to either Aeneas Smith or Johnny Wilson, but it hasn't happened yet. Let's give this team a read. This is draft number 49 for me in BBM. 2583 build. We got Dak Prescott, Geno Smith. Because we got the big discount on James Cook, I only went 5 running backs. Normally would go 6 in a 0 RB build like this one. But that's too big of a dip for Cook, who's normally kind of a hero RB guy. So James Cook, David Montgomery, Brian Robinson Jr., Chase Brown, Rico Dowdle. At wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen, Tyler Lockett, Jalen Tolbert, and the rare 5% owned, probably 1% owned Paris Campbell. So that's the hope, is he can keep this job as a slot guy all year long. We get Luke Musgrave, Noah Fant, and Juwan Johnson. That's the team, and Campbell low owned is a good call for the bring back. I'll take that from Mr. Poopy Butthole. The most feared man in best ball says that. That's my draft for today, guys. That was a fast one. It was 42 minutes. Well, either way, we're doing one draft a day now. We're sticking with the plan so I can keep my workload aligned where I want it to be. So, guys, please do check out Underdog. Promo code SPLASH on there. Gets you $250 in bonus cash. It goes a long way. If you're only an Underdog drafter, I would go check out Drafters as well right now. You can do the puppy as well. Puppy's out right now. But I would say go check out Drafters. Do the 17-week no playoff pods, full point PPR Drafters million. $15 entry fees on there. Shots went $500K to first place. And last year, we had a bunch of people in the Splash Play community finishing top 100. I myself, only 9 entries, finished top 110. So that's what you can do on Drafters. So I'm going to give you that big plug right there. Go check out Drafters for yourself. Use the promo code SPLASH. Also supports the show too. But go check that out. Probably as well, my baby, some people out there saying it's the best kept secret in sports betting. And it's true, because honestly, we have the best market data in the business for cheaper than everybody else out there. You're paying $20 a month for us or $50 a month. And that's compared to $500, $1,000 a month for some of the other apps out there that are doing a lot more in terms of desktop stuff, but don't have a mobile thing that you can even look at and take with you on the go. And our guy, Robert Griffin III, one of the regulars here, was telling me he hit 9-2 on Father's Day, which is awesome, on Father's Day especially. But glad to see people in the community having success with it. So if you want to change your life in sports betting with top of market data, and also I'm accessible to answer any questions if you do sign up, go to probably.com/subscribe. Use the promo code FIRST. You get up to half off a month or a year. That means getting the data for under $10 for a month, under $100 for a year. And that goes a long way to support us right now as we continue the never-ending quest to find investment in the worst landscape in history. Stochastic too, 15% off the promo code SPLASH if you want DFS tools. Certainly recommend that. And hit the join button down below. Our guy, Dean Duke, will get added to this list. But you guys, if you hit the join button, you get $4.99 a month down below. That's the cost. You get 10 team reviews a month for me, a VIP Discord access. If you just sync your YouTube to your Discord, you get the Splash Play VIP Discord on there. And also, you get my rankings, which get updated every week as well, with over 275 blurbs for players. So if you want to know who I think specifically about a guy and see some of the data I reference as well, it's all in there. So that's really the biggest thing you can do for yourself and for me here on the channel. So hit that join button. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more, guys. So gamble responsibly. In the meantime, I'll see you tomorrow. So enjoy your days. Happy Juneteenth if you're off. And good luck. Bye-bye.